Hello! Thank you for joining me today. My name is Ashley Hood, and I am the lead color instructor here at Suki's Salons. Today we're going to be learning about gray coverage, and the three main takeaways from this video is going to be good saturation, small sectioning, and being mindful of the hairline. So let's get started. So you always want to wear your gloves when you're doing a regrowth touch-up. And just like our traditional regrowth touch-ups, we'll be going into 4 quadrants. I like to use my color as my clips when I am doing my quadrants. And now that I have my 4 quadrants outlined, I'm going to be taking small diagonal sections starting from the top, working all the way down. You want to do this to make sure that the hair stays nice and clean, but if you're ever doing an extended regrowth application or a really long root touch-up, you're going to want to start from the bottom, working your way up to make sure that doesn't get too messy. So I'm just going to take small sections, working my way backwards. You always want to make sure that you're starting in the back of the head because you don't want the front to grab too dark. The only time you'd want to start from the front of the hairline is if you have really resistant grays in the front and you need to make sure that they have extra time to process. So making sure to paint both sides of my section to ensure proper coverage. I'll take fine sections. You should be able to see through the section that you're painting. This is going to give you the adequate amount of coverage for your gray. If you take a section that is too large and you cannot see through it, the hairs that are in the middle, they won't get covered. So now that I've finished the back, what you're gonna wanna do is do a cross check. To cross check, you want to go in the opposite direction that you applied the color. So since I did diagonal back, working my way down, I'm now gonna do vertically across to make sure that I cover every hair and all the gray is fully saturated. The cross-checking, it shouldn't take you as long as the regrowth application. This is just meant to be a really quick technique in the back to make sure that there is full coverage. You want to be careful though when you are doing your cross-checking that you're not dragging color down through the ends and that you're also not dragging through the hair and pulling it and getting it all knotty and tangled. Now that we've completed our cross-check, it's time to move on to the front. So again, just like in the back, you want to be making sure that you're getting full saturation and you're taking paper fine sections. I also like to take a minute when I do go to the front to apply a little bit of barrier cream around the hairline. If anyone's a level 6 and down, then there's a good chance that they can stain. So having the barrier cream on there just helps to prevent that. So just work your way around the hairline with the barrier cream. Your client will definitely thank you for doing this. And again, just like the back, I'm going to be taking diagonal sections backwards. This also helps to keep the hair out of the client's face. Your paper thin sections that you can see between. And good saturation on both the top and the bottom of your section. When it comes to the hairline, you'll want to leave out about 1/2 inch of it and you'll go back and hit that last. If you go and you cover it right now and you're a little bit on the slower side, as we tend to be when we're first learning, it will get over processed and then it will actually create a black halo around the hairline because that hair is so porous and it sucks up the color really quickly. So I always just like to go through and just take about that 1/2 inch out. And I'll come back and I'll hit that again last. But if you have someone who has really, really resistant gray hairs around their hairline, it's okay to go in and do it all at the same time because it will need a little bit extra time to process. It's also very important to make sure that you're keeping your client's face color free. And see how the barrier cream just makes it really easy to wipe off any excess color that does get onto the skin. So now that I've finished my front and I've left my hairline out, I'll move on to the other side of the quadrant. So now that I've finished the first front part of the quadrant, I'm going to move over to the other side. As you can see, I'm leaving out my hairline, and I'll make sure to hit that last, because if I color it right now, the hair around the hairline is so porous that it's just gonna absorb all of that color and it actually goes really dark. The only time that you'll want to include your hairline in your application is if someone has really resistant gray hair and it needs that extra processing time, then it's okay to do it all at once. So now that I've finished both front quadrants, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to touch up my hairline. This will be quite fast because it should only be a ½ inch veil. So just a speedy little touch up. But again, you want to make sure that you get really good and full saturation around the hairline and that no little grays or no little small hairs are poking out, because if those poke out of the color, they will not get covered. A lot of times we have women coming back for gray coverage because their hairline didn't take, because there wasn't enough saturation. So after I feel comfortable with my level of saturation around the hairline, I'll go back in and do a quick cross check, but this time I'll take my sections horizontally and work my way up the head. At the end, it's important to make sure that you go around and you take off any of the color that's gotten onto the face, as that will create a stain mark. And then for those short little resistant hairs on the hairline, or to make sure that you don't get any staining, especially when you're working with a level 3 and down, you'll want to put some perm end papers on the hair. That helps to absorb the color that would naturally go into the skin, but it also helps to push down any of those short little hairs that you have to make sure that you get full saturation coverage. You just want to work your way around the hairline, making sure that's fully covered. And that's your gray coverage.